जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवर। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन नंदन ब्रज। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज। यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना वनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन नंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद। हरे कृष्ण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1st, Chapter 15th, Verse 21st. Is that right? Yeah. Tadvai dhanusta ishavah saratho hayaste. Soham rathi drupatayo yat anamanti. Sarvam kshanena tadabhudasadishariktam. Bhudasadisharik bhasman hutam kuhakaradhamivoptamusham. Tadvai dhanusta ishavah saratho hayaste. Soham rathi nrupatayo yat anamanti. Sarvam kshanena tadabhudasadishariktam. Bhasman hutam kuhakaradhamivoptamusham. Tadvai dhanusta ishavah saratho hayaste. Soham rathi nrupatayo yat anamanti. Sarvam kshanena tadabhudasadishariktam. Tadabhudasadishariktam. Bhasman hutam kuhakaradhamivoptamusham. Tadvai dhanusta ishavah saratho hayaste. Soham rathi nrupatayo yat anamanti. Tatsanena tadabhudasadishariktam. Bhasman hutam kuhakaradhamivoptamusham. Tadvai dhanusta ishavah saratho hayaste. Soham rathi nrupatayo yat anamanti. Sarvam kshanena tadabhudasadishariktam. Bhasman hutam kuhakaradhamivoptamusham. Tadvai dhanusta ishavah saratho hayaste. Soham rathi nrupatayo yat anamanti. Sarvam kshanena tadabhudasadishariktam. Bhasman hutam kuhakaradhamivoptamusham. Mataji's, anybody wants to speak? Okay, we'll go ahead. Tat, the same. Vai, certainly. Dhanhu te, the same bow. Ishavaha, arrows, Saha, the very same, Ratham, chariot, Hayate, the very same horses, Saha Aham, I am the same Arjuna, Rathi, the chariot fighter, Nrupatayah, all the kings, Yatah, whom Anamanti offered their respects, Sarvam, all, Kshanena, at the moment's notice, Tat, all those, Adbhut, became Asat, useless, Isha, because of the Lord, Riktam, being void, Bhasman, ashes, Hutam, offering, butter, Kuhakaradham, money created by magical feats, Eva, like that, Uptam, sown, Ushyam, in barren land. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna, to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on barren land. Purport. As we have discussed more than once, one should not be puffed up by borrowed plumes. All energies and powers are derived from the Supreme Source, Lord Krishna, and they act as long as He desires and cease to function as soon as He withdraws. All electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the supreme will of the Lord. Material civilization without the blessing of the Lord is child's play only. As long as the parents allow the child to play, it is all right. As soon as the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. Human civilization and all activities thereof must be dovetailed with the supreme blessing of the Lord. And without this blessing, all advancement of human civilization is like decoration on a dead body. It is said here that a dead civilization and its activities are something like clarified butter on ashes, the accumulation of money by a magic wand, and the sowing of seeds in a barren land. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Would like to seek blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, either in person or online. So, in the previous verse, we saw the reason of why Arjuna is in grief, why he is feeling some sort of a despondency. And in the previous verse, he himself has admitted that he was defeated by infidel men as he was trying to protect the bodies of the queens of Lord Krishna. I remember many years back we did a drama on this same theme, that how the Pandavas slowly went out of their kingdom and how Parikshit Maharaj rose to the power. And I was acting as Arjuna, and this was one of my dialogues. So I read it, I realized, wow. And this shloka and then the few shlokas after this is exactly, they had taken the dialogues as it is from Bhagavatam. So that time, of course, I did not deliberate on the meaning of this verse so much. Actually, it is always a pressure on the head to give Srimad Bhagavatam class, honestly. But sometimes, some pushing is required for you to study and to think. It's a blessing actually. That's why in disguise. So people, anyway. So that's what I realized after reading this verse. That I spoke this was in my dialogue, but I never meditated on the meaning of this. So something very nice that, and these three examples that Arjuna gives are also very specific, and I wanted to make an effort on speaking on these three examples, but we will come to that in a short while. But before that, if you see the condition which Arjuna is passing through, it's almost like a reversal. That reversal which comes in people's life. This is a reversal in Arjuna's life. Why reversal? Because he is actually defeated by infidel men. He calls them as Gopaihi in the previous verse. They are infidel men. They are not systematically trained in the martial art. And he is an established Kshatriya. So we go back in the history of Arjuna, and we see that when Arjuna came across another infidel man in his childhood, his name was Ekalavya. And Arjuna could understand that the character of this man is not so great. And there are purports of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on this topic. Would encourage you to go and read those purports. So because Arjuna could understand that, there is something dark in the heart. I'm not sure how many of you have seen Kung Fu Panda movie. So there also, the turtle who is the grandmaster, doesn't hand over that special instruction to one particular expert warrior. And then he reveals later on that because I could see darkness in his heart, so I did not give him the best. So something like that. So you see some darkness in the heart of a person, you don't want to give the best of knowledge to that person. So it's nothing to do with the caste or like that. But it's because Arjuna could see that sort of an envy, that competitiveness, unhealthy competitiveness. So he successfully arranged to keep Ekalavya away from this, and even later on in the war, Lord Krishna actually took him aside and Lord Krishna killed him. So he was able to successfully do it. The point is that he was able to successfully do it. But here there are all such many Ekalavyas as infidel men, and through them only he is defeated. So it's a reversal, right? Something that he was able to succeed, now he is defeated. So you can actually see that what he must have gone through. It's not, if you see the sequence of the events, we see that when Lord Krishna and when Arjuna was just about to fight the battle of Kurukshetra, he was on the same chariot. Lord Krishna was there in person, and he was undergoing a despondency. He was actually not willing to fight. And Lord Krishna gives him a reason and says that, that famous shloka, Sambhavitasya chakirtim marnadatirichyate. Krishna says that you better fight right now. Because if you don't fight and you want to become a beggar and you are saying that I will become a beggar, but when you actually start begging, people are going to say, hey, nikal ja aage. Go away. They're going to shoo you away. And you are Arjun. You will not be able to take that. Why? Because Sambhavitasya chakirtim marnadatirichyate. If for one who is glorified to undergo, so Arjun, just imagine, before even the fighting the battle of Kurukshetra, he has achieved many feats. He was actually able to defeat Lord Shiva. He was able to get weapons from the heavenly planets. So amazing feats have been achieved. For that person becoming a beggar and people just shooing him away, you can imagine, this is death. This is actually like death. So Krishna is saying, don't go through this. You better fight. Now, taking that same instruction of Lord Krishna, he's actually fighting, but now he's fully defeated. And by not somebody like Lord Shiva or great demigod, by infidel men whom he actually was supposed to keep, and he was successful in keeping away, even from the battle of Kurukshetra. Can you imagine the kind of despondency or the kind of suffering that he actually must have gone through? But we see that when in the battle of Kurukshetra, before the battle of Kurukshetra, when he actually went through the despondency, he actually says what is the psychological and physiological condition when he's actually going through that stress. He says that my throat is dried up, the Gandiva is just falling from my hands. You have experience like this in exams sometimes, when you are not very well prepared for exam and you actually go and sit in front of paper. I remember this in Pune when I was studying. Cold, like December and January is extremely cold, and we used to have exam during this period. So I wouldn't be able to hold pen in my hand actually. There was a 5-10 minutes rubbing of my hand. And it's not basically because of the cold, but it's because of the unpreparedness and the loss of confidence, right? So in Arjuna's case, it is Gandhi which is slipping from the hand. In our case, it is pen which is slipping from the hand. But the emotion is the same. The same thing that you undergo. But here, he is not speaking any of those things. He is not saying that my throat is now dried up. I am losing, I'm perspiring, and Gandhi is slipping from my... None of those words have been used here, right? He is undergoing a pain of separation from Krishna, but he is not undergoing those problems, those stressful problems that he actually was going through on the chariot in the battle of Kurukshetra, right? So we see this is the same Arjuna, but there he had problem, but here actually he is going... Why? How is Arjuna able to handle this particular blow? And I feel that he is giving us a 3-step formula in a very cryptic way in these 3 examples. So what are the 3 examples? And it's very wonderful that Srila Prabhupada has not elaborated these 3 examples, and towards the end of the purport, he again repeats the 3 examples as they are. So the first example, he says, it is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, like accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on barren land. So that way it is not very easily understandable. So Prabhupada gives 2 more analogies in the purport very nicely to clarify the thought. But then these 3 analogies, Prabhupada keeps them intact. Again, towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada again says, it is said here that the dead civilization and its activities are like something like clarified butter on ashes, accumulating of money by magic wand, and sowing seeds in barren land. So when I read this, I was like, okay, there must be some reason why Arjuna is speaking like this. He's speaking his heart. When the great personalities, they are in anguish and they are speaking something, they sometimes speak, wisdoms and pearls of wisdoms, which nobody has ever spoken in the past. Example, the gopis in the separation from Krishna, they speak this wonderful verse, Tava kathamrutam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham. And in our ISKCON society, we had a very wonderful sannyasi, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, who used to sing this in a very sweet tune. That tune actually became famous. The Gopi Geet became famous because of this wonderful sweet tune that he would sing in. And there is one lecture that he gave before he actually traveled to US and he actually contracted COVID. And he spoke that lecture in in Vrindavan. And it's such a beautiful lecture. And in that he says that people always ask me this question, that when I sing Gopi Geet, why do I start with Tava Kathamrutam verse? Tava Kathamrutam verse is not the first verse of Gopi Geet. It appears somewhere in the middle. And I'm not an expert, so I don't know which number. Many of you will actually know it, in what sequence it comes. But it's not the first verse. So he says in that lecture, he says, many people ask me this question, that why do I start my lecture with the verse Tava Kathamrutam? And they argue with me, and they correct me. They tell me that you should not start like this, because this is not the first verse of Gopi Geet. He says, but I still start like this. He says, because I see that actually this verse is revealing a prophecy. He says, Bhurida Jana, a person who will actually be able to distribute your name to those people whose hearts are burning, right? That person is the most magnanimous personality. And he said, this is actually the prophecy of Srila Prabhupada's appearance. He says like that in that lecture. He said, because I see this verse as the prophecy of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, that's why I always sing it as the first verse. It's my prayer to Srila Prabhupada. It's my offering to Prabhupada. So, point is, even in the greatest anguish, the personalities will speak some truth, some words of wisdom. So, Arjuna is giving these three analogies, but it's definitely worth our time to understand what do they actually mean and what do they actually talk to us. So, what is the blow that Arjuna has got in his life? The blow that Arjuna has got in his life is that whatever he was famous for and whatever glory, skill, strength, all that he had, he himself says in this verse is Sarvam Kshanena, right? What is that? Sarvam Kshanena Tad Bhusada Dishariktam. In one moment, everything has disappeared. In one moment. That's a blow. So Arjuna is talking about the blow that he received when the empowerment was taken away. Right? And at some point in time, every one of us will have to go through this phase. Everyone has to go through this phase. How do we handle that situation? So how do we handle empowerment in life? This is a formula that Arjuna is giving us in these three analogies. That's what I understood. And of course, I tried to analyze it based on whatever I have heard from Radha Swami Maharaj's classes. There's a beautiful lecture by His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu also on the same verse. I referred to it. And after referring to those things, I realized that, wow, this is really very nice. This is actually something that we have to learn from in our life. So let's discuss about this principle. The principle of handling empowerment. How does a person handle empowerment? So the first analogy is given that offering of butter on ashes. Right? This is the analogy which is given. How do you understand this? So just before that, let's go a little one step back and try to understand what is this empowerment all about. Because in ISKCON, if you see outside world, you will not hear this word so much. That, somebody is an empowered rickshaw driver. Somebody is an empowered prime minister, of course he is. But people don't say like that. Somebody is an empowered physics teacher. Yeah, people don't speak like that. But the lingo is more powerful in ISKCON, right? So we have empowered fundraiser, empowered book distributor, empowered kirtan singer, empowered DT dresser, empowered speaker, empowered, everywhere there is empowered garland maker. So the lingo is very famous. the question that needs to be asked, why do you actually need empowerment? Is empowerment required? Is it a necessity in life? Is it actually required? Well, the answer is yes. It is required. So why is it required? Because what is the fundamental principle taught by His Grace Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami? He says, Kali Kalir Dharma Nama Sankirtana Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana. Right? That formula is given. That the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga is Nam Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana. Without Krishna Shakti, nobody can distribute and nobody can spread the holy name. And somehow we have been given that baton by Srila Prabhupada, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the Parampara, that now you have to spread the holy name. And Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartan. So without Krishna Shakti, you cannot do it. So empowerment is necessary. Empowerment is necessary to serve Krishna in the spreading of the mission that he himself came to distribute and to expand. But is empowerment necessary to go back to Godhead? Can you say that an empowered devotee is definitely someone who will go back to Godhead? What is the goal of life, to become an empowered devotee, or is the goal of life to go back to Godhead? Or to develop love for Krishna? Right? So, actually, if you see like that, and if you read the series of verses, you will realize that Arjuna has just lost all the empowerment. And as the verses go ahead, you will see that how much he's absorbed in Krishna's love, and how much detachment he develops, and how much enrichment of heart he develops. As you go on reading the verse, you will realize. Let the other speaker speak on that particular topic. So if being empowered was necessary to go back to Godhead, then Arjuna wouldn't have gone back to Godhead, because he just lost all the empowerment. And he himself is saying that it is lost. Nobody is making a judgment on it. It is his own words that he is saying like this. Right? So, and this is, I'm quoting Gaurang Darshan Prabhu again. So he says that very nicely. He says, for a devotee, what is required to go back to Godhead is love for Krishna. He needs to love Krishna. That is what is required to go back to Godhead. Empowerment is required for service, to develop that love. Right? So, because empowerment is not absolutely necessary for a person to go back to Godhead, so what does Krishna say? Yogakshemam mahamyam. So he supplies what you lack, right? So he also takes away what you don't need. So at the right time, Krishna just takes away the empowerment that is given, because you don't need it to go back to Godhead. That's not necessary. So the same Krishna here is doing that. This is being compared with this aspect of offering butter in ashes. That is the example which is given. So what is this concept of offering butter in ashes? See, in the olden times, it's not like nowadays, suppose if the fire in the sacrifice suddenly goes away, then you have some kerosene or something, you see people doing it. We don't do it in ISKCON. But they just put some kerosene and put some camphor and again the fire starts. Well, that's not the way the fire is ignited in sacrifices. In traditional sacrifices, there are brahmanas. The brahmanas are there, they chant mantras, is the purity, and then through the purity of the mantras, the fire which is there inside the wood, it's already there, it just comes out by the power of mantra. So if in sacrifice there are just ashes, that means sacrifice is over. The game is over. The brahmanas have left. Whatever somebody wanted to pray for, somebody wanted to wish for, is all done. It's game over. Now if you put a lot of ghee in that, game over, it's of no use. So when Krishna takes that empowerment away, we should know that it's a game over. Let me not waste my time in putting more ghee in the ashes. Let me use that ghee somewhere else. Right? That putting that ghee in the ashes will simply, you will be able to make some bricks out of it, but even those bricks will not last for long. So the time is up. That's a very painful realization, but everyone has to go through it. That maybe my time is getting over. And when the time is getting over, a person humbly just withdraws. Right? That's what Arjuna did. He did not remain a warrior anymore. He did not become a... And Srila Prabhupada so wonderfully says that when Arjuna was fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, on the flag of his chariot, there was Hanumanji. And Hanumanji, at one point in time, was the biggest hero in Ramayana. But Battle of Kurukshetra was a time up for him. So he simply remained as an emblem on the flag. He would just come out and shout loudly. That's all he did. So the people would get scared. People means the soldiers would get scared. And you know, the moment you get scared, you lose your concentration and then you become an easy target for the weapon. So that's what Hanumanji would do, just come out and shout loudly. But as compared to what he did in the battle of Ram versus Ravan, well, this is just nothing. Because he understood that it's time up for me. So we need to understand when our time is up. Right? That sensitivity a devotee should develop in his life. If you don't realize it, then you will go through a lot of despondency in life. And then you may achieve frustration and stressful and mental stress and depression and so many problems if you fail to understand that my time is up. And Arjuna is telling us this thing. And be sure, everywhere, in any field, wherever you are, someday the time will be up, the game will be over. Like how the Prabhupada gives example here, that a child is engaged in the play and he's building a nice castle or something like that, right? So the parents understand that, the child needs that time. He should actually play, he or she should go play with sand, play with water and everything. But then, everything has a time limit. So when the time is up, the parents say, hey, chalo, time up. And the child has to go. He has to leave the half-completed castle as it is. There's no question of, Baba, wait for some time, I wait for some time, I want to complete the castle and all that. Do it tomorrow. But now time up. Time up, move, fast. And he has to leave everything and go. Right? So Prabhupada is giving this example to explain this particular analogy, that for everyone, there is a time in life where it's game over. Be sensitive when that time comes and don't waste your ghee in putting in the fire anymore because it's already game over. Right? Do it somewhere else. A very wonderful example, and please don't take it in a wrong sense. In our own temple, we had these two very nice counselors, ISKCON Prabhu and Prem Lila Mataji. You know them? Right? Do you see him right now active here and doing the same services that he used to do earlier? He is in GEV, taking care of small children. When he was here, he was taking care of grown-up children. From grown-up children, now he is taking care of small children. Because that's ideal. Right? Only one who has dealt with grown-up children throughout his life can very easily deal with small children. Because the small children's parents are of the same age of the grown-up children that this person has dealt with in the previous life. So he exactly knows what the mistakes parents are doing. So that person's relationship with the child is so special that he knows that I'm not supposed to do these mistakes because I have handled all these types of psychologies. And the child is just enjoying, right? So smaller the child, the elder should be the teacher, always. I don't know how we can achieve this combination in our society. But you see, who is the best mother in the whole world that we ever know of? That is Yashoda Mai. And it is mentioned by Goswamis in their commentaries that Yashoda Mai used to take help of Purnamasi to understand how to deal with Krishna. So the best mother in the world also was not fully equipped to handle her own child. She required a guidance from an elderly woman, which is Purnamasi. Right? She was a grandmother of Madhumangal who came to. Purnamasi would guide. Okay, Krishna is like this, let him go away. Children do like these things, all that. Elderly person. You see? So they are now very nicely taking care of small children there. And they're doing fantastic. right? So isn't it a beautiful example? And in fact, now they may be contributing much more. Because see, a person who has not been guided in childhood by a devotee, he grows up to be a teenager, and then he comes to the temple for a Prerna festival. And therefore, you will be like a boxing with that person's mind to make him Krishna conscious. But same child who is trained by somebody like ISKCON Prabhu in childhood, he grows up and he comes to temple. In the first 2 sentences, he'll become a devotee. Right? So, ISKCON Prabhu is making all of your life easy basically by educating small children. There have to be more ISKCON Prabhus and more Premlila Matajis who have that understanding. Right? Anyway, but this is just my personal thought. Please don't take me ahead. But these examples are very, very powerful. That you understand that now, okay, time to go out, do something else. And that Krishna will give that message at the right point in time. But you should be willing to accept it. If you don't accept it, then you will go through depression. But Arjuna is accepting that message. And you see the next verses, you will understand what kind of acceptance he has exhibited. I want to read the 31st verse, which is there. Just see what it says about Arjuna's. So we feel that Arjuna has lost empowerment, but what he has gained. See the 31st verse. Please read the translation. This is Sutta Goswami saying, because of Lord's pastimes and activities, and because of his absence, it appeared that Arjuna forgot the instructions left by the personality of Godhead. Sorry, this is 30th verse. But factually, this was not the case. And again, he became the lord of his senses. See what is mentioned here. Arjuna, he lost battle with infidel men. But the result of that battle he is speaking here is that he became the lord of his senses. Wow. I mean, this is, who gets this? Krishna is the lord of senses. This is actually empowerment. The losing of that empowerment, that is useless. Look at this empowerment. He became the lord of his senses. And see what happens later. Because of his possessing spiritual assets, the doubts of duality were completely cut off. Thus, he was freed from the 3 modes of material nature and placed in transcendence. This is explanation. This is what happened to Arjuna. Placed in transcendence. There was no longer any chance of becoming entangled in birth and death, for he was free from material form. Just see what he has achieved. Timely withdrawal. This is the benefit. Then we come to the second understanding, the second example. He says, like money by a magic wand. Second example, money created by a magic wand. What does this example try to tell us? Srila Prabhupada gives, okay, there is a very famous movie, I think, of the late. It just became very famous on these OTT platforms. There's this man, a group of men actually. They do a loot. They loot a bank in front of everybody. So it's a whole stadium somewhere in central London. And then there is this magic show going on in that. So there is a huge television screen. And then you, as the audience watches it, you can see that actually that person, he goes, there is one person who goes into one bank and then he trespasses some security protocols and then directly reaches the treasury of the bank. And he steals a whole huge lot of money which is there in the bank's treasury. And then all of a sudden, that money, all the money which is stolen there starts falling from the sky in that stadium. And people are like, wow, what is this? So money created by magic wand. So Prabhupada asks a question that if you are so expert in getting money, why do you want to perform magic shows? Why do you want to earn money by performing magic shows? You can just do magic wand and get money, right? But you need to perform magic shows to get money. To show people that I can create money, but then you have to take money from the people to show them that you can create money. This is actually very weird, right? So Prabhupada says that if you are such a great person that you can create money from magic, then why do you need to perform magic show to collect money? But well, you can say that, oh, because I get a lot of fame. I get a lot of fame, and fame is everything. It's intoxicating, right? How many people who are rich actually become famous? But those who become famous, they get a lot of money, right? So becoming famous is great. You may say, oh, that's okay, you become famous and all that. But then what about you're doing a loot in front of everybody? Like you're stealing the money right in front of everyone. Like sometimes you see these expert Siddha Babas and all that, right? And there was one Siddha Purush like that. He would just create a gold necklace from his hand, just like that. So the gold necklace has come from nowhere and is offered, but you don't know from where that person has taken it. That is not known to you. That is not seen to you. And Prabhupada would say that there was a person who was expert. He could suddenly go to somewhere in Kashmir or somewhere and get an apple from there and present to you. He was a Siddha Purush. He could do that. But here, he was actually stealing right in front of everyone's eyes. So you may say, but you are doing the loot in front of everybody. How is it that you're not getting arrested? How is it that people are not arresting you? Well, the reason is every sort of entertainment has a limit, right? So there is a setting with the government that we are going to perform all these things in the show, and then government says, okay, but you cannot do X, Y, Z things. You're entertaining people, very nice, but if you cross that limit, then we'll put you in the jail. Then we will completely shoot you, right? So you can do entertainment very well with your skills and everything, but there's a limit to that entertainment. The moment you cross that limit, it doesn't remain entertainment, it becomes crime. Example, in our own history of Maharashtra, you know the great king Shivaji Maharaj. Once a very great magician, he appeared in the court of Shivaji Maharaj. And he said, I want to perform so many different magic shows. So all the soldiers there, they said, yes, you are allowed to perform all different magic shows, but no disappearing act. Strict instruction. Disappear nahi hone ka. Suddenly gayab nahi hone ka. Because Shivaji Maharaj is still sitting there. What if you suddenly disappear and then directly appear next to him with a sword on his neck? That is not allowed. So no disappearing allowed. Everything else you can do. But then this magician, he went into his own frenzy of doing wonderful magics and everything, and suddenly he disappeared. The moment he disappeared, all the Mavalas, they just clasped their swords. And then he appeared in some other corner in 2 minutes. As soon as he appeared, he was cut into pieces. He was cut into pieces right in front of everybody. Right? Not a moment wasted. Not a moment wasted. As soon as he appeared, immediately cut into pieces. But what if he suddenly disappears again and does something to Shivaji Maharaj? Right? So, you can do a lot of entertainment, lot of skills and everything in your life, but you need to maintain the boundary. If you don't maintain the boundary, it does not remain entertainment anymore. It becomes crime. Right? That's what exactly Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Yo bhungte stena evasaha. You heard this verse in Bhagavad Gita. You are allowed to enjoy in this material world. Krishna has allowed you. He has given you all the strength and power and everything, beauty and everything. But there is a limitation. The moment you cross that limitation, it becomes crime. And then you have to be punished. Right? This is the second principle of empowerment. The empowerment will be given to you by Krishna. But you need to understand how that empowerment needs to be practiced. A very famous example right from our scripture is actually Vali. You know, this is very wonderful, right? In Mahabharata, Arjun is a son of Indra and Karna is a son of sun god, Surya. In Ramayana, Vali is a son of Indra and Hanuman is a disciple of our Sugriv is a son of sun god. Right? It's exact. Somebody who is villain here has become hero there. Somebody who is hero there has become villain here. Why is it so? Why is it that Vali is a villain in Ramayana? Because originally all of them were supposed to be heroes only. Right? Vali was supposed to be had not taken birth to become a demon or to become demonic. All the Vanaras had appeared actually to assist Lord Ramchandra, including Vali. But when the empowerment principle is not observed and it breaks the border, then you go to the crime section. So Vali went to such a level of crime that Ramchandra did not even consider him fit to fight with him face to face. He killed him from behind a tree. And when Vali left his body, the first question he asked when leaving his body, he asked Lord Ramchandra, why did you kill me like this? So he said that, do you accept that you tried to enjoy the wife of your own brother? The Putra Vadhu? Do you accept that? Is that a human behavior? He says, no, I behaved like an animal. Do you accept that you did not treat your brother very well when he actually wanted to talk to you, surrender to you, beg forgiveness from you? Yes, I accept. Is that a human behavior? No, that's an animal behavior. So, do you wage a war with an animal or do you hunt an animal? You hunt an animal. There is no question of war with an animal. Animal is to be hunted. Just to show that position that your life, despite being the life of an empowered monkey or empowered Vanara, came down to the level of a useless animal which needs to be hunted. That had to be demonstrated. This is a principle that everyone needs to know, that there is a limit. Don't cross that limit. You will be an empowered person, you will be given empowerment, but you have to maintain that limit. This is the second principle of empowerment, how to handle the empowerment. And the third principle that is now spoken here, very nice verse, he says, sowing the seeds in a barren land. Again, a very nice example. When I read this sentence, I remembered my childhood. There was a television serial called Gotya. I don't know how many of you saw it, Marathi. And it had a beautiful title song. Bija ankure ankure, olya maticha kushita, kase ruzave biyane malarane khadkat. Like that. Beautiful song. As says, Bija ankure ankure, olya maticha kushita. If a seed has to germinate, there has to be soft and wet sand. Kase ruzave biyane malarane khadkat. You throw that seed somewhere in the rocky place, how will it germinate? So, comparing that analogy to basically parenting, for a child to grow, to bring his inner qualities out very nicely, the parenting also has to be like that very nicely. But parenting ke liye example theek hai. How is this talking about empowerment? So, those of you who have been hearing Radhanath Maharaj for quite some time, you know there is one particular analogy that Radhanath Maharaj gives, and it's a very nice analogy. There's a shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam, very famous verse, Yatha taror mula nishechanena trupyanti tat skanda bhujopashakha. Pranopahara chayathendriyanam tathaiva sarvarhanam achyuteja. That shloka is there. So just like by putting water on the root of the tree, all the twigs and branches and the flowers and the fruits, everyone gets the water. Similarly, by offering worship to Lord Krishna, everyone becomes satisfied. But Radhanath Maharaj adds a extra understanding into this analogy. He says that when you water the root, when you water a plant on the root, does the water directly go to the root? No. It travels through a nice, wet, soft sand. It's the soft sand which takes the water to the root. So Krishna is never alone. He's always surrounded by a circle of devotees. Just like a plant is surrounded by a nice soft sand. So directly pouring water on sand, it is the sand which allows itself to nicely percolate through it and then reach the roots. Similarly, you directly go and serve Krishna, that is not going to work. You have to give something to devotees, and the devotees will take it to Krishna in a very nice way, and Krishna will accept it. Now, let's use the same analogy. Take out Krishna from this analogy and put a living entity there. Imagine that living entity is that small seed which is there in that sand. So what is it that actually nourishes the seed or gives nutrients to the seed? For those of you who have studied agriculture or who are in contact with the modern advancements and techniques of agriculture, you will know actually sand has all the nutrients, or the soil has all the nutrients in it. But the plant cannot take those nutrients directly from the soil. It is not possible. There are actually small microorganisms present in the soil. Those microorganisms convert the nutrient into a substance which can be absorbed by the root. And then the roots and those seeds actually get nourishment and they go ahead. A fertile sand is a sand which not only has nutrients but also has microorganisms. If a sand only has nutrients and no microorganisms, the plant cannot do it. So therefore what people do, they put artificial fertilizer. So artificial fertilizer is already made into a form that a plant can quickly absorb. But that is not the plan of nature. The plan of nature is that nutrient has to be in the soil. It is the microorganisms that have to convert the nutrients into what can be consumed by the plant, and the plant then accepts it. Similarly, all of us now replace this whole thing with you as that seed, the soil as a wonderful ISKCON temple, and the devotees as the microorganisms which are present there, right? So yes, there are deities, there are wonderful chandeliers, there are sound systems, there are books, right? All the nutrients are there, but they need to be converted into a form that I can accept it. If I cannot accept those nutrients, I will not get any nourishment. The point which I'm trying to say is that no matter how much a person say that I am empowered preacher, I am an empowered book distributor, empowered fundraiser, that nourishment has come through the microorganisms. You are not alone who is doing it. If those microorganisms were not present, they may be very micro. Of course, Krishna says das, das, anudas. So anudas, they are very microorganisms, right? But they are actually providing, they're converting all these things into something which you can absorb, right? That's why we have Prerana festival, we have Chetna festival, converting things into things which the living entities, they can absorb. They have to be converted. And therefore, no matter how much empowerment I have in my life, I have to remember that I am not the sole responsible person for it. It has actually come through so many sources to me, right? So one remains grateful eternally in his life towards devotees and whatever they have got from devotees. It could be just one sentence that comes from a devotee that can push you ahead in life. I just want to give a small example which happened in my own personal life and just few weeks back. So I am saying it because I actually went through the experience and therefore I'm mentioning it. Please don't hold me that I'm unnecessarily glorifying something or not like that, but it's a fact. I'm just stating the facts. So last Friday, I have Shungar Seva here every Friday morning. So we are supposed to reach here at 5:15, at least, to start the Seva, right? Last Friday, I got up at 5 o'clock in Dahisar. So you can imagine that you cannot reach here in time. And I was like frantically trying to contact the in charge, like Radhika Raman Prabhu and other people, that Prabhu, I am very late and all that. But somehow nobody was responding to the phone. So I called up Sridhama Prabhu. And Sridhama Prabhu said that, just listen to me one thing, he said, don't make a plan of staying back. Get ready and come. We will do whatever needs to be done, but you get ready and come. And that one sentence was very encouraging. I said, wow, I mean, at least somebody is saying that, please get ready and come. He's not saying that, stay at home, abhi kya, 5:30 to baj gaye, abhi bhul jao, dressing. No. Please get ready and come, right? And then I was traveling to temple, another devotee called up, he said, what do you want to wear on the deities? You want to put dhoti or you want to put pant? And so I said, okay, let's put pant, whatever. I mean, I was in complete anxiety. By the time I came, the deity Gopinath ji was completely ready. He was already having shirt, already having pant and everything nicely. And the Dasanudas Mataji was there. She had already kept all the jewelry, all the turban pieces, and the turban cloths, and the cloth that need to be put on the waist, and everything was ready. I just went on the altar and practically finished the dressing in the same time that I finish it normally. Now, can I call myself as an empowered dresser? I did the whole dressing, which I generally take 1.5 hours to do. I did it in 45 minutes. Am I an empowered dresser? No. There is this microorganisms which are working. You don't realize them, right? Right from that encouraging sentence that don't worry, come, we will do everything for you, right? That experience was nothing less than Vaikuntha experience, I'm telling you. It is Vaikuntha experience. If you are a person who has gone through that experience in life, where all devotees were there with you, and they were there with you in the most difficult phase of your life, that is Vaikuntha experience. And therefore, there is this wonderful statement by Tukaram Maharaj. He says, "Na lage mukti ani sampada, santa sanga dei sada, tuka mane garbhavasi sukhe ghalave amase." He says, I am willing to take birth again and again as long as I have association of devotees. I actually understood the meaning of this sentence that day. What is the meaning of that? You can achieve Vaikuntha experience right in this lifetime. In this lifetime. And therefore Prahlad Maharaj says that I don't want to go back to Godhead. I want to stay back here and I want to give the Vaikuntha experience to living entities. That's what I want to do. That's the goal of my life. Why should I be the only person who experiences Vaikuntha? No, my job is to give the Vaikuntha experience to everybody. That is the purpose of my empowerment. That's the reason why empowerment has been given to me. That is the right use of my empowerment. As long as the empowerment is being used for that purpose, there is no question of crossing the line and going into crime. There is no question of going into depression when that empowerment goes away. Because that's what is required at that time. So this is the third principle. So the first principle is to understand that empowerment is given to you, but when it's not needed, it will be taken away. And empowerment is not necessary for going back to Godhead. What we need for going back to Godhead is love of Krishna. And when you have that empowerment, ensure that you do not cross the line. Do not cross the line, very important. And throughout the stage of being empowered, always we should know that it's not me alone who is responsible for this empowerment. It's not that mera direct nata hai Bhagwan ke saath, so I'm an empowered person. No, it's not possible. It is not possible. Because I want to ask a question. What is the main source of enjoyment? What is the main source of empowerment? Right? What is the main source of empowerment? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. The whole Shakti is actually in the holy name. And that Shakti is manifest in you when the holy name is pleased with you. And the holy name is pleased with you only when you serve Vaishnavas, when you serve devotees. That's the only time the holy name is pleased with you. So without the holy name and without the Vaishnavas, there's no question of empowerment. The empowerment also has come because of those two things. Right? So therefore, what is the right that anyone has to become intoxicated by empowerment? And this is what I think Arjuna is telling the principle here. And I feel that every devotee should actually take these 3 examples very seriously and then become Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna. It's time up. Anybody has any questions or comments? We can end here. Mataji has a question. Yes. We have a mic?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Bol.
Initially, you had said that sometimes we need to stop putting ghee in the ashes. So, if I have to apply this principle to my life, how am I supposed to know is the time to stop putting the ghee in the ash?
Maybe I cannot answer it in public like that. Maybe you can ask that to, and request anyone else if you know, please answer. But you will get the signal, Mataji. You get the signal. It's like Sachin Tendulkar, there was a period in his life where every match there was a century. Every match century, every match century, every match century. Then came a particular period where every match he was going out in 4-5-0. And then people only start talking, "Yaar, abhi kitna khiloge? Abhi niklo bahar." They will not say in front of his face, but somebody may put it on Twitter, somebody may put it here and there, right? So you will get some signal from somewhere, "Ki abhi now my time is up." Actually, I want to say one thing, and recently I was speaking to somebody like that. He said sometimes the women in Krishna consciousness, they don't like a particular example which Prabhupada gives. So Prabhupada generally gives an example that when a woman is very small, she is very young, she is under the maintenance or protection of her father. When she becomes young, then she becomes under the protection of her husband. And then when she grows old, she is protected by her child. Right? And people say, "Hey, what are you saying like this? Are you saying that women are weak and this and that?" But try to understand the second side of it. I feel, and this is my observation, that when the child is smaller, a male child, he is under the protection of his mother. When he grows up, the mother takes the hand of the child and gives in the hand of wife and says, "Now please take care of my child. I have fed him very nicely. I have taken care of him very nicely. Now you protect his body and protect his senses." And when that man grows old, he will be taken care of by his daughter. Ask every city-dwelling person who is taking care of him more, daughter or son, and he will say, "It's my daughter who is taking care of me." Right? So this is the maturity that the lady has, that now my time is up, my son is grown up, take the hand and give in the hand of my daughter-in-law. And then slowly come out of that phase. Right? I was given skills, I was given empowerment, given everything for this time to come. Now the time has passed, now I withdraw. And then, now my daughter is there, she will take care of my husband. Now I will withdraw and I will focus on my spiritual life. I don't know, I'm just saying like this, but signals, these are signals. How the signal will come, I don't know. We have to be sensitive. Therefore, now one has to have very good sadhana. There has to be some connection to Paramatma. So, sometimes what happens, there is so much of noise that even when the signal comes, we are not able to interpret the signal. And then we realize, oh my God, actually Krishna was trying to tell me this, and I couldn't understand it. So some sadhana is required, some sadhana, regular chanting, some connection to Krishna. And then the signal comes. When the signal comes, be sensitive. We don't want to be obsessed. Sometimes it's a seva to stay back and keep serving, although you may want to withdraw. And that signal comes very straightforward, that no, Prabhu, I want you to be here because there is nobody else to take care of it. So you stay. What can you do? Like that. Sorry, I'm not sure if I answered your question. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.